With ImmunityBio, my investment was primarily with Patrick Soon-Shiong. Yes, I did invest in ImmunityBio, but my initial observation or analysis was to align with Patrick Soon-Shiong and to invest with him. And it's why I was able to get into this stock at very good prices, because I wasn't necessarily looking at what was happening with the company at that moment. They had just received a CRL by the FDA, a complete response letter, and also had to issue a number of job losses to members of staff. But during those reports, when I was making those investments, I was entering in the stock at $1.37, at $2.50 kind of a couple of years later as well, and also at $3.50. But throughout all of those entries into ImmunityBio, I was investing in the pedigree and reputation of Patrick Soon-Shiong, who we can see has a net worth of around $8 billion. And so Patrick Soon-Shiong is the majority shareholder of ImmunityBio with 28%. He also manages and controls these two entities, California Capital Equity LLC and Nanworks LLC. And so like I was saying, essentially my investment was a hedge. It was a hedge with Patrick Soon-Shiong, with his proven track record, his experience and his skills. He was the inventor of a treatment called Abraxane, and Abraxane is a chemotherapy medication used to treat advanced or metastatic forms of breast cancer, pancreatic cancer and non-small cell lung cancer. It's used globally as a standardized chemotherapy treatment today in countries including the US, Canada, the European Union, Japan and China too. And so like I was saying, Patrick Soon-Shiong has this net worth of $8.7 billion according to Forbes. And he amassed this fortune by developing blockbuster treatments and also building out pharmaceutical companies from scratch when they have no treatments, and then selling them on. We can see this article, Soon-Shiong to sell APP. This was by the Los Angeles Business Journal, dated in July 2008. APP is publicly held, but Soon-Shiong, its founder and chairman, controls more than 80% of outstanding stock. Los Angeles billionaire Patrick Soon-Shiong has agreed to sell his Illinois-based generic drug business for $3.7 billion, plus the assumption of $940 million in outstanding debt. The buyer is Fresenius SE of Frankfurt, Germany. And then in this Forbes article dated from June 2010, so 2 years later, we can see that Patrick Soon-Shiong is at it again. BIOTECH Soon-Shiong nabs another billion. Patrick Soon-Shiong, the richest man in the drug business, just got even richer. His sale this morning of his Abraxis Bioscience to Celgene for $2.9 billion will net him almost $2.4 billion. It's the second time Soon-Shiong has reaped gains from selling a company. Most of his fortune comes from the sale of hospital generics firm APP Pharmaceuticals to German dialysis firm Fresenius in 2008. And so it's based on this, on Patrick Soon-Shiong's proven track record and pedigree, that I invested with him in ImmunityBio. And so biotech stocks can be notoriously volatile. They can take extreme swings. They can go up quite aggressively very quickly, and the same with dropping down in price too if there's some kind of perceived catastrophe in the market. And so with that in mind, much like in life, for example, life is never linear. Things go up and down. Things aren't always perfect and we do experience problems. And so I try and relate that into the way I invest. I'm looking at stocks and I understand that they can take massive swings. And in times of difficulty, when I do see steep declines in stocks that I've invested in biotech, I'm really leaning into the leadership. So in this case, I'm looking at Patrick Soon-Shiong. I understand that he's been in these situations numerous times. He's been in the industry for numerous decades. And so I'm hedging on that expertise, on those skills, on those contacts that he's acquired throughout the period of his career. And one of the things I really like to do, like I've done with ImmunityBio, is I periodically continue to make entries into a stock if I think the leadership is world class and I have long-term faith in the execution of the company over a period of 2 years, 3 years, maybe even 5 years. Whenever I see that the price is judged to be reasonable, I'll continue to make entries into that stock. And in some cases, it might be much higher than the original price I paid for it. But then at the same time, what I'm looking for is I'm kind of studying where the company is at that given time, where they are with their strategy and their execution. And because I have this confidence in the world-class leadership, I am quite happy to pay a little bit higher than I'd paid, let's say, 2 years ago, simply because I can see that with the strategy, there's still an opportunity for further growth, further expansion of treatments. With ImmunityBio, that would be Anktiva, because they're expanding globally across numerous territories in Europe, in the US, and even beyond in Asia as well, and in Saudi Arabia, which means that I'm confident in the execution over the next 5 years and 10 years. And I might wait for declines in the stock when there's some bad news, but having this longer term, larger vision of aligning not only with the leadership, but looking at where the company may be in the next 5 years or 10 years too. And so right now, 5 analysts offer a 1 year mean price forecast of $14.80 for ImmunityBio. There's quite a lot happening with them, which I'll go into in the next few videos in terms of this expansion of Anktiva across numerous territories and expanding the treatment over a number of different indications as well, which will open up more revenue opportunities. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.